Hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar series on how to get started on QuickBooks Online for business owners. My name is Nadine Chetty. I am an accountant by practice and I run my own cloud accounting firm called Ecom Accounting Solutions. At Ecom Accounting Solutions, we assist small business owners in helping them manage their compliance as well as growing their business by giving them the perfect online tools to manage their business. I am also an Intuit QuickBooks Online trainer. In this webinar series, we will be covering a number of topics on how to get started on QuickBooks Online, key navigations through the system, transacting daily, and managing your business through QuickBooks Online. I will be conducting this video series as if I am a first-time business owner and the steps that I would need to follow to take from the beginning to the end. So the process that we are going to follow is this. What is QuickBooks Online South Africa? How to log in and navigate the key features. Setup, including your business settings, managing your users, your chart of accounts, and your VAT setup if applicable. We're going to talk about downloading the QuickBooks mobile app. So I will just touch on the key features of this app and how to download it. Then we're going to move on to creating, editing, and viewing your products and services. We are then going to move on to customer invoicing, which will include creating, customizing, sending, and canceling of your invoices. We will then move on to supplier purchases and invoices, which will include your billing and your expenses, as well as then your bank feeds and your reconciliation, which ties the process together. And then lastly, we're going to look at finding and understanding common reports. Once we have completed our webinar series, and if you feel like you may need more specialized information, you can visit the online learning and support page below. QuickBooks Online gives you what you need most to run your business, all in one place. Businesses run better with QuickBooks. You are able to track your expenses, manage your cash flow, and create invoices. You are able to access the system from anywhere. It is a real time-saving tool and is built for the small business owner. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to log into the product and we're going to look at a few key features and how to navigate through it. So all you would do is you'd go to QuickBooks, Google it, and probably the first item that pops up on your search, you'd click on and you'd come to this page and we would simply go to sign in and QuickBooks Online, right? So I've already got a tab opened. So your sign in page is going to look very similar to this. If you do not have an account already, you can say create an account, or you can also do it from here by doing a free 30-day trial. So I'm just going to put my details in as I've already created this sample company for us, and I'm going to click sign in. So you will now see a few companies here. So this is my actual accountant profile. So it will show me my different QuickBooks accountant profiles if I have more than one company, and it will also show me my QuickBooks companies. So we are actually going to use a company called Camera Guys to work through the session. So this is actually really nice if you have more than one company that you're running. So you have all of them under one login and in one easy to manage place. So we're first going to look at how to navigate the key features. Okay, so we're going to start off with the simple dashboard, which is on your left. So we can see that we've got the invoice section. So the invoice section is really nice. It shows you the amount of money that's unpaid for the last 365 days, what is overdue, what is not due yet, and what has been actually deposited in the last 30 days. It gives you a small breakdown of your expenses in a graph format, and you can also drill down to the different financial periods that you wish to see. Then we've got your bank account. So this is where your bank feeds will be and where you will do your bank reconciliations daily. So as you can see here, we've got a little connect accounts button, and this is where I will go into a bit more detail when it comes to bank feeds. So what will happen here is you'll actually be able to see your bank balance on a daily if you have your bank feeds connected, which is really nice. So you don't have to log in to your bank account to check your bank balance, where QuickBooks Online has everything for you in one place. Then we've got a small profit and loss here, which you can also drill down to the different months that you wish to see or the different reporting periods that you wish to see. It will then give you figures. Obviously, once you've got figures in here with your income and your expenses, and you can also drill down and look at the detail for each of these categories. Then we've got your little sales account or your sales graph. This is a nice little graph to show you your sales. You can do it per day for the month, or you can choose as you wish. You can do this financial year by month, which is really nice. You can see this week. So it really gives you a good breakdown of what your sales are looking like. And this is all on the home page of your QuickBooks Online. So this is really information at your fingertips. So on your left, you will see that you have a whole lot of different sections. So you've got your banking, your sales, your expenses, your VAT, your reports. But if you are never sure, or if you are not sure of where to go to when you need to create something, you'd simply click on this little new tab. It is definitely a starting block for any new QuickBooks Online user, as it gives you a lot of different options of what you need to do. So you've got your invoice here, you've got your quote here, you've got your credit note, you've got your bills, you've got your payables. So there's a lot of different actions that can be done from the section. Then you've also got your little search bar or your little search button. So if you click on this, you can literally search for tips, or you can search for different transactions. And then you can even go into advanced search if you're really looking for something pretty detailed. So this is really nice if you quickly want access of something. Okay, so what I'm going to start off with is your sales center, and then I'm going to work my way down. Okay, so with the sales center, as you can see, you've got your all sales, you've got your invoices, your customers, and your products and services. So in this sales center, you can do all things sales related. So you can create sales invoices, you can create quotes, you can create your customers as well as your products and services. Now you can also send customer statements. You can also view all your invoices, all your quotes, all your customer details in one place. This is also a great place to manage your stock, which we will get into a bit later. So we're going to dig into this whole section in the next few steps when we will be dealing with how to create your invoices. Then you've got your expense center. So your expense center is all about your expenses. So what you do here is you'd create your different suppliers. So if you were in the retail business, you would simply put your suppliers here from where you purchase, and then you get your normal everyday expenses, which is like your bank charges, things that are recurring, and you don't really have control of when they are paid. So here you'll also get a view of your suppliers. And what's also nice is you get to see the supplier balances right in your face. And that's the same with the customer side. On your customers tab, you get to see all the customers' balances, and you can actually filter them to what you want to see. Then we've got the section on banking. So you can see you've got banking and you've got rules. So rules are a little bit more complicated, and I'd rather leave them for your accountant to create. But all it is it sets up simple rules to automate your income and expense tracking, as this thing explains. So what is really nice is you've also got little how-to videos on certain areas of in your QuickBooks Online platform. So with your banking, you have two options. You can either connect your account via bank feed, or you can upload your transactions via a CSV file, which I think works the best. So at the bottom, you can also see it gives you a few little tips of what to do on this section. So it really helps you and teaches you the way to manage your business and your bookkeeping, if we want to call it that. Then we are going to touch on VAT. So now this is only applicable if you are VAT registered. Obviously, every business hopes to get to that stage. So I'm going to touch on it a bit. So all it is, it's basically lets you collect and track your VAT payable. So it shows you your different VAT periods. I'm actually going to talk about this a bit later. But it shows you your VAT payable, your VAT collectible, what needs to be paid when. It's actually a real-time VAT payable or refundable calculator. So every transaction you do impacts your VAT final figure. And we will look at it a bit later, as when I start transacting, we can go back to the VAT screen and you'll be able to see exactly what I mean. Then we've got our easy reporting. So again, very simple to navigate. It's just at the reporting tab. So we've got some simple standard reports, such as your balance sheet and your profit and loss, and as well as your accounts receivable. Then you've got different sections, such as your business overview. The business snapshot is actually one of my favorites. And if you do want to favorite a certain report, all you do is click on the little star. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of different types of reporting here. We've got who owes you, sales and customers, what you owe, expenses and suppliers, employees, and for my accountant. Now, you can also create custom reports, but again, I would say ask your accountant to assist you with certain things like that. And then you've got a small management report pack, which basically shows you your sales performance and your expenses performance. So yeah, we're going to go a bit deeper in this later on, and I'll show you how to customize and how to really get information out of these reports. So there's also a really, really nice budgeting feature, which will really help you with your cash flow, as well as project tracking. Now, project tracking is not for everyone or every type of business, but it does come in handy for very specialized type of businesses that do deal with projects. So what it does is you have a whole project tab where you can, I'm actually maybe going to switch it on, and then I can give you some information on it. So all I'm doing is I am going to the sales side. I'm actually going to go try and find it. Fonts, there we go. And I'm going to switch it on. Okay. So now, if we look here, it's going to refresh. And now you can see that you've got a project tab opened. Actually, wants me to go back to settings. Okay. So if I go into the project tab, we can basically create new projects here. So this is nice if you want to track your project profitability, if you want to track how much income is made, for which of your products ran best. It's also a great place to keep track of your labor costs, and also eliminating whether you're really making a profit or a loss. So this is a really, really nice tool, and I would advise it for anyone who is running project-based businesses. So definitely give this a try if it's for you. So now we're going to dig a little bit more deeper in the product. And what I'm going to start with is the account setup. So this is very, very important. And it basically lays the foundation for your business and to start using QuickBooks Online effectively and efficiently. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the little gear tab on your right-hand side. And I'm going to go to Account and Settings. Now, on your left-hand side, you can see Company, Billing and Subscription, Sales, Expenses, and Advanced. So under Company, all you're going to do is you're going to click onto the screen. I'm just going to show it to you one more time. You're going to either go there or just click on the screen. So you can add your company logo. So this is nice because it shows on all your sales forms and your purchase orders. So if you want to change your logo, all you do is you click into it and it gives you an option to upload as many logos as you wish. So let's say you want different invoice layouts with different logos on, then you would put in all your logos that you would need to. So I'm just going to click Save because I set this logo as correct. Then you're going to type in your company name, your business CIPC registration number. So this is only applicable to companies and CCs and non-profit organizations. And then your VAT number if you do have one. Let's, for instance, say you are trading as a sole proprietor. So your company name would be your trading as name, and then obviously your legal name would be your name because you're a sole proprietor. And always make sure to always click Save once you're done with the section. Then we've got your different company types, right? So they're first asking you about your tax. So this is just to get a bit more information about the business. So you've got different options here. So you've got a sole proprietor, that is if you're operating on your own in your individual name. Then we've got a partnership or limited liability company. So a partnership is obviously two or more people operating together, and then they would share the profits according to their profit sharing. And a limited liability company is very similar to our companies in South Africa. Then we've got a small business corporation, and they state here two or more owners. So this is some businesses that actually qualify for this if they are in, they meet the certain requirements by SARS. Then we've got a corporation. So I would assume this is something similar to a closed corporation. You can't register these anymore, but if you do have an old CC, this is what you would use. Then we've got a non-profit organization. So this is all your NPOs, NGOs, anything that's a non-profit charitable organization. And then we've got a limited liability, which I'm pretty sure is very certain to your company. And then if you're not sure, you can also choose this option and ask your accountant at a later stage. But I'm going to choose this option. And then this is also a really nice thing to use. So it asks you about your industry. Now, why this is so important is because this gives you a certain framework on your chart of accounts, which we'll be dealing with just now. So I'm going to choose retail and e-commerce and non-food because my business is all about selling cameras and training that goes along with the cameras. Then you put in your company email. So this is where QuickBooks can contact you. And then your customer facing email. So this is where customers will contact you on your sales forms. So if they are different, you can simply type in the different one. And then you've got your company phone number. It's very important to use that format. And then obviously, if you've got a website, you can type that in too. Then you've got the company address. Right? So this is where you put all your address, well, not all of your address, just your address for your business. And also, if it is a different company customer-facing address, you can change that there. And if there is a different legal address, you can also change that there. Now, I'm going to talk on billing and subscription last. So if you go to the sales section, it wants you to customize your invoices. But I prefer to do this as soon as you're going to start sending out invoices, because then you have a feel of what your invoice needs to look like. So if we go to sales form content, you've got your preferred invoice term. So this is whether you have a 30-day or a 15-day, or whether it's due on receipt. You can create your own here. Then you've got your preferred delivery method. If you'd like to send your invoices later or print them later. You've got your shipping. So why this is so important for retail is because if you have an e-commerce store, for example, you would need the shipping section to show what is being shipped, what's the weighable number for, etc., and which courier company you're using. Then you also have different custom fields. So I use these especially for lawyers and advocates. So because they need certain extra information on their invoices, QuickBooks Online gives you the section where you can actually add up to 3 different custom fields, and you can make them visible on your invoices. So I've just added this one in called matter number or case number, which is quite common when it comes to advocates and lawyers. Then you've got your custom transactions numbers. This is very important because it shows your continuity of your invoices. So it's very important for your invoice to flow from 1 to 2 to 3 and not jump all over the place, because that can be a problem if your books are ever audited. Then you've got a service date. So this is for, say, if you are performing training somewhere or you're doing garden services somewhere, the day on which the service will be completed. Then you've got your discount field. Obviously there you can put a discount percentage in or a discount amount, and this is only a total discount on the whole invoice and not a line discount. And then you've got your deposit. Now this is only used for when a client has actually paid a deposit on the quote. Then you would put that into your invoice, but it's not necessarily used to say, okay, pay me 50% deposit up front. Then we've got your product and services field. So you get an option to show your products and services on your sales forms as well as your SKU. So your SKU is very similar to like your item code. Let's say you have a lot of stock and you have these really weird kind of numbers that is generated. So this is where your SKU would be. And then you'd obviously want to track your quantity and your price on hand, as well as tracking your stock quantity on hand. And this is very important, obviously, for retail, but for a service industry, it's not that important. Now, this section called progress invoicing is not really for everyone, and it can be a bit confusing for first-time users. So I would not switch it on yet until you get really familiar with the system. So all that it does is you create one big quote, and then you start invoicing partial amounts of that quote until you've invoiced the whole quote. So it works mainly with construction if you invoice in phases. But then again, I'd also use maybe a project rather than progress invoicing. Then you've got your default messages. So these are default pre-loaded messages which is used when you send your invoices or your quotes. So you see we've got invoices, estimates, which is quotes, credit notes, sales receipts, statements, and refund receipts. So every sales form is specific with their message, but you can also change this as you wish. So you can see this is also changeable as to what you need to use. Then you can also email yourself a copy. There are a lot of people that want that peace of mind to know that the invoice has actually been sent. So this is a great way to do it. So always email yourself a copy if you feel unsure. Then you can copy new invoices to a certain address or blind copy. Okay. Then there's something called invoice reminders, which is really, really nice for cash flow management and keeping up with your debtors. So again, it's a simplified email which goes out for all your overdue invoices. You can also, again, email yourself a copy, as well as automatically send a reminder for all outstanding invoices. And you can choose on the due date, or 1 day before the invoice is due, or 1 day after, or 5 days after, however you wish. And it will automatically send out invoice reminders for you. And I've seen among our clients that invoice reminders really do work with simplified debt collection. Then you've got your online delivery. So this is how your emails and your invoices are sent. So I always choose to show a short summary. It just gives a nice brief layout, and it's not so detailed, and which can put the customer off. And always attach your PDF, and also always make sure it's an online invoice. And again, show your aging at the end of the table, at the end of the statement, very important, because our customers like to know how old their debt is. So they probably are only going to pay you on 90 days, like most of companies do in South Africa. But yes, I'd rather choose each transaction as a single line, because again, if we include too much of detail, it can really draw the customer's attention away. And show aging at the bottom of the table is also very important. Then we've got expenses. So this is showing items table on expenses and purchase forms. Track your expenses and items by customers, and make expenses and items billable. So this again is very important, obviously, for retail, but you can also do it if you want to track certain expenses specifically per customer. So if you do a lot of PR work, for example, you obviously want to track those expenses per the customer. Then you've also got your default bill payment terms, which you can also set to 30 or 60, however you wish. Then you've got something called purchase order. So this again is very similar to an estimate, but basically you want to purchase from your supplier. So you're sending him a purchase order, basically. That's all it is. You get your custom fields again, your custom transactions and numbers, and your default message you can also save. Here is your default message, but again, you can change it as you want, and you can email yourself a copy. Then if we go to the advanced setting, you start off with the accounting section, which is your first month of your financial year. Always make sure you read that first, because normally people always talk about when is your financial year end. So this would not be February, it would be March in general, unless your company document states otherwise. And then your first month of the tax year is exactly the same as your financial year. Then you've got your accounting method. It's very important to always keep it on accrual. And then you click save. Closing the books is only if you are done with a year and you don't want anyone to go and touch the figures that were done for that year. So then you close the books off. You set a password so no one else can go in and mess around with figures. We've got our tax form again, which we've already looked at. You've got enable off account numbers. So I always keep this off because we don't need account numbers anymore. Some people may like it, but it's personally not for me. I want to be able to create as many accounts as I want to without having to be restricted on my numbers that I've set up. And if you set your numbers up incorrectly in the beginning, you're going to struggle as your chart of account grows. Then we've got different categories, so you can track your classes or your locations. So let's, for instance, say you've got different locations where your stores are held, maybe in Durban, Johannesburg, Pretoria. So you would then track your locations. Tracking classes is a little bit different. So it's more like tracking different areas or subsections in your business. So maybe if you are a bakery, for example, or a hair salon, you'd want to track which does better, whether haircuts specifically do better, or just colors, or for bakery, whether chocolate cakes sell better or croissants, for example. So that's how you'd really track your classes and your locations. So I'm going to put the classes on and I'm going to click save. Then it also wants you to do some automation to pre-fill information. You can do this if you want, if you really trust the system, but I would say use the system a bit for and get used to it. And once you feel comfortable, then go on and put in these automatically pre-fill forms and a lot of different automation that goes with it. Then we've got your projects. I've explained that briefly and I've put that on. You've got time tracking. So if you want to track your time activity per customer, you want to add in timesheets, you can go ahead and put this on. But I've seen in this day and age, it's all about value and it's not really about time. But if you are a time activity-based business, then by all means switch this on. Then you've got your English language. That is unfortunately all the languages they are in South Africa, unless you are French, or Italian. So you can decide what you want there. Then you've got your home currency, obviously that's South Africa. And if you invoice other countries with different currencies, you can put on your multi-currency and then you can choose the different countries you invoice to. Then you've simply got your number format. It's going to put me back. Okay. We've got your number format. Obviously, these are just warning if a duplicate check number is used, which is very good to keep on. Warn if a duplicate bill number is used. So this is very important to make sure that you don't duplicate any information. Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to look at your billing and subscription, but I'm actually going to take you back to this page as it's just a bit easier to explain. Okay, so you can see we've got 3 packages. We've got a simple start, an essentials, and a plus. So QuickBooks is actually running 50% off for 6 months currently. I'm not sure how long that will last, but they do always have some specials going around. And if you obviously sign up with an accountant, you get your package at 50% off as well. So I'm going to go through the different areas or the different capabilities that each software has. So as you can see, the Plus is your most expensive premium product. Then you've got your Essentials, which is the middleman, and then you've got your Simple Start, which is for the real beginners. Okay, so on Simple Start, you can track your sales, your expenses, and your profits. You can create and send unlimited invoices, track and manage your sales tax, so that this will be your VAT, work on a PC, Mac, and mobile. You'll back up your data automatically because it's in the cloud, it's being updated all the time. You've got bank level security and encryption, so all your data is kept extremely, extremely safe. You can invite your accountant to access your data, so him and you can work simultaneously. You can also import and export from Excel. And it is unfortunately only for one user plus your accountant. So this is if you're really starting off and you don't have a lot of people working on your system. Then if we move on to the essentials. So basically, the essentials does everything that the Simple Start does, but it also has managing and paying your bills, transact in multi-currencies if necessary. You can generate sales quotes. You can control your user access, so what your different users can do. You can configure with local tax rates. Obviously, this is your VAT rates. You can manage your supplier bills and payments, handle multi-currencies, and it also has up to 3 users plus your accountant. So this gives you a little bit more room to play with. And then we've got the ultimate premium product. So it has everything that the other 2 has, but it also allows you to track your inventory, create purchase orders, create budgets, very important. Track income and expenses by job or project. So this is obviously your projects that I mentioned earlier. You track your sales and profitability for each location. So this would be your classes and your locations. Tracking your project profitability. This links in with your projects, and it's up to 25 users plus your accountant. So this, you can see, is definitely the premium product, and it's also the most popular. And I don't think this is a huge fee for everything that you're getting. So now, once we've set up our basic information, and we've also chosen a package, we are going to move over to managing your users. Okay, so I'm just going to click yes to save it, and I'm going to go to the gear icon again. This is generally where all your settings are, your lists and your tools and your profile. So we're going to go to manage users. Now you can see we've got 2 users here. So myself as the master admin, and obviously I've got a different person here, which I've added in, and she is a standard user. And we can see that she has not yet accepted the invite. So obviously if your status changes to active, you have accepted the invite. Now what you can also do is you could delete it, or you can resend the invite. Okay, and you can view the user activity on this profile. So if you go to add user, we've got 2 different options. We've got a standard user and we've got a company admin. So a company admin can really do everything. This includes sending money, changing passwords, and adding users. So bear in mind that not everyone should be an admin. Now, if we look at a standard user, you can give them full or limited access without obviously any admin privileges. So this is like maybe a normal bookkeeper, but you don't want them to see or change passwords or send money, etc. Then these don't count towards your user limit. So let's say you have a financial manager, for instance, who just needs to look at reports, or the person just needs to track their time. So it's like an employee, basically. You can create them over here. Okay, so I've chosen a standard user, and you can choose to give them all access, or you can limit them to either customers or suppliers, or both. So this basically gives them all these options. So they can do quotes, invoices, sales receipts, credit memos, refunds, charges, and credits. They can also do statements, and it goes on. But what they can't do is add, edit, and delete accounts and quantity on hand, view bank registers, and see total income and expenses amounts on home, supplier, and customer pages. Okay, and that's very similar to your suppliers, just obviously on the expenses side. So I'm just going to create them as an all right? And I do not want them to add, edit, or remove users. I do not want them to change company info, and I do not want them to manage subscriptions. So you're going to fill in their details, and then you're going to click on save. Okay, so you're going to have something that looks very similar to this. Okay, now we're almost done with the account setup. As you can see, it is quite long, but it is a very important step of setting up your account. So I'm again going to go to the gear icon, and then we're going to go to chart of accounts. Okay, so it's already telling me to see how your accounting works on the inside. Okay, there's a little video of what it is all about. But as you can see, this is really a section for you to see your different types, your different names, and your different detail types, as well as your QuickBooks balance. Now this balance only shows for balance sheet items. Okay, so we've got already quite a bit of transactions that it's given us. And this is because we chose that industry type in the beginning. Okay, but since you do have quite a lot of these accounts already, let's look for a few that we maybe don't have. And I'm going to add them with you. Okay, so I'm going to maybe add something on the line of petrol. And what is really nice, so I'm just going to briefly explain this. We've got an account type. So here you've got your accounts receivable or your current assets, your cash and cash equivalents, your fixed assets, your non-current assets, your accounts payable, your credit card, current liabilities, non-current liabilities, owner's equity, income, other income, cost of sales, expenses, and other expenses. So as I click into one of these, more detailed types pop up. So it wants to help you, it wants to teach you of what steps to follow, which accounts to choose, and it's really, really, really helpful. So I'm just going to go to expenses and I'm going to go to auto. Now what's nice is that every detailed type that you click on gives you a bit of an explanation. So I'm going to go onto bank charges. Let's hope there isn't a bank charge. And I'm going to say the name is bank charges. You can leave it as is, or you can change it. And I'm going to save and close. Okay, now it's telling me that there is already an account with this name. So I'm going to choose another one. Let's do charitable contributions. So these are basically donations. Okay, and all I did was save it and your account has been saved. I'm going to do another one. So this one's a little bit more different, not difficult. I'm going to go expenses. Now you see there's a little is sub account, and in very light writing, you can see it says enter parent account. So I use this especially for payroll expenses, so your salaries. So you can group all your employees together. Or I use it for your motor vehicle expenses, so your petrol, your parking, your repairs and maintenance on the vehicle. So this is where I would do it. So I'm going to give you an example of that now. So I go to expenses, I go to auto, and you can leave it as auto, or we can change the word to motor vehicle expenses. And this is going to be your parent account. Now I'm going to click on the little arrow and I'm going to say save and new. Okay, so then I'm going to go back to expenses, back to auto, and type petrol and tolls. Okay, and I'm going to say it is a sub account, and it is a sub account of motor vehicle expenses. And I'm just going to create another one in the same thing. So again, expenses, auto, let's say repairs and maintenance. Again, it is a sub account of auto, or again, motor vehicle expenses. Okay, now if I save and close it, and we go to motor vehicle expenses, I'm going to filter it by name. Now you can see your petrol and tolls and your repairs and maintenance is grouped into your motor vehicle. So this is very, very important when it comes to your reporting. So yeah, you can go ahead and play around and add as many different accounts that you need. But that is why your industry type is also very important, as it helps you with giving you a few pre-built chart of accounts. So yeah, you go around, play around with it. Your cash and cash equivalents, it gives you bank, cash on hand, a money market, all these type of things. As you can see, it has rents held in trust and a client trust account. So this is so important if you're maybe a lawyer or a rental agency. So this system has so much ability to look after or be able to manage different types of businesses. Okay, so that is our chart of accounts. I hope it was easy to understand. And then we are going to move over to VAT. And this is our last setup when it comes to your account setup in total. And then we can actually move on to the nitty-gritty and the actual daily transacting of the account. Okay, so I'm going to go into VAT. And it's already asking me, let's set up your VAT. Okay, so it's going to pop up, right? So obviously in South Africa, our agency is SARS. Now again, this is only if you are VAT registered. So it's going to ask you, what is the start of your VAT period? So now this is going to be, let's say if you're on even months, then your VAT period starts on Jan and ends on Feb. If you're on odd months, your VAT period will start in February and end in March. Or if you have a monthly frequency, it is every single month. Okay, so I'm going to choose an even month. So my starting is January and my filing frequency is bi-monthly. Now, obviously, we know in South Africa, we have a few different options of VAT submissions. The most common is bi-monthly, but you do get others, and you will be able to see where you fall on your VAT registration document. And VAT is always in accrual. It's never cash. So it's always invoice based and never payment based unless you've registered it as a payment base. And then you're just going to type in your VAT number. This is a very made up number. And I clicked on next. Now, all it's telling me to do is click on got it. I love the words the system uses. It's so user-friendly, it's so vibey, it's so funky. So it really gives you energy and spirit to want to actually do accounting. So this is what I was mentioning before, right? You've got a little summary, if we want to call it, up here. So what is your VAT collected on sales? What is your VAT paid on purchases, if there are any adjustments? And this will be your total that you will either have to pay or it will be refundable. Okay, so now this is going to work per your VAT period. So once you are done with your VAT for this period, you are going to say prepare return. You are going to fill in, well, all this information is actually going to be pre-filled in from all the transactions that you have accrued over time. And then you're going to say mark as filed. So you're going to obviously say the filing date, let's say today, and then you're going to say mark as filed. So once you mark it as filed, the status is going to change to filed. Okay, and then once it is filed, you are actually going to get the ability to make a payment on this VAT return. Now, it's very, very important to make the payments from this VAT center. And when the payment reflects on your bank account, you just match the two. Very, very important that you do the payment from here. So let me actually try and file maybe a null return on this thing and see what it does. Okay, now you see it already says filed and paid because it was a null return. Okay, so you can record a refund, but this will obviously just say record payment if it was an amount payable. Okay, so that is how you would do your VAT center, but I'll go back to it maybe before I go on to the report section. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the amazing mobile app that QuickBooks Online has out. It really gives you the ability to work remotely, to run your business from anywhere. You could even run your business from your bakkie. It really gives you such flexibility. And I actually have clients that prefer to use their mobile app to run their business. So all you need to do is go to your Google Play Store or your Apple App Store and search QuickBooks Online. Okay, so the key features on this app, just to give you a few, is again your dashboard, very simple similar to the QuickBooks Online profile or platform. You can make quotes and invoices from the system on the go. So imagine you're at a client, you need to make the invoice. I always say it's better to give the client the invoice as soon as the work is done, because they are more likely to pay you quicker than if you take maybe a day or so to give him that invoice. There's also an expense tracker where you can actually take pictures of your receipts, and that links directly back to your QuickBooks Online profile. And then you can actually match payments done onto those receipts that you took pictures of. You can manage your bank account transactions, and that's how I mentioned about matching your expenses and your incomes to your bank account transactions. And you've got also simplified reporting there. So you can see a small profit and loss. You can see your sales. So it really, really, really is a very important tool for any small business owner to have if they're using QuickBooks Online. I stress this to all my clients. It is a must. As soon as I set them up, that is one of the apps I make sure I download for them. It's really going to give you peace of mind and flexibility, and that's very, very important in this day and age. Okay, so moving on from the mobile app, we're going to talk about products and services. So I'm just going to jump back to the dashboard screen, because it's always good to start off here, just a clean, calming look, if I can call it that, right? So we're going to go to sales and products and services. I just prefer using this method so I can see what is in every section. Okay, so on our product and services, we've got low stock and out of stock, right? And we've got new, more tab, and it looks a bit odd, right? But it's going to be so easy, and I'm going to show you how to do it now, right? So let's say you've got different products and services. So I'm going to give you an example from Camera Guy's perspective. So we sell cameras and we sell training on these cameras, because you're never going to buy a camera if you don't know how to use it, right? So I'm going to go to the new button. So QuickBooks Online, they always show you the easy route, or the route most followed is in green. Okay, so I'm going to click on the new button. Now it pops up with different inventory or product and service information. Okay, so we've got inventory. So this is products you buy and sell and that you track quantities of. So this is going to be my cameras, for example. Then you've got products that you buy or sell, but you don't really keep track of your quantity. So in this example, they use nuts and bolts used in an installation. So this is mainly like your consumables that you use, that you don't really track the nitty-gritty information of. Then you've got your service-related items. So these are mainly used, that's for services that you provide to your customers, for example, landscaping or tax preparation services, if you are a tax preparer. But in this instance, I'm going to use my services tab as to create service codes for different training sessions that I may have for these different cameras. And then you can also have a bundle. So this is more a collection of products and services that you sell together. For example, maybe like a gift basket, which is made of a lot of different things, or a computer sold with a certain software kind of thing. So it's just like a bundle. But I normally feel that clients normally use the first three, but if the bundle works for you, by all means. Okay. So let's go ahead and create an inventory item. Okay, so I just clicked on the inventory. Again, you can change the type as you need to. And I'm going to put the name in here and call it maybe like Canon. I do not know the names of these cameras. I'm just going to put some interesting numbers. And I'm going to make a little SKU. Let's call it CXS002. Okay. And I'm going to say I have 5 quantity on hand, and the date is the 31st of December. Okay. And then it gives you more options, right? So our reorder point will be at maybe 2. And we're going to put a description if you want, not necessary. I sell this camera at 5,400. Okay. And I'm going to put it to sales. Okay, now you can go create more income codes if you wish. Okay, I'm going to choose my tax, which is standard. Obviously, if you are not VAT registered, this whole section will not be included. So now I've got my purchasing information. I buy it for maybe 2,500. It goes to cost of sales, and that's also excluding VAT. Choose my VAT code. This again is not applicable if you are not VAT registered. And let's say my preferred supplier is Canon directly. Okay, so I've basically just created inventory item. What is really nice is you can also put an image of your actual camera, which is really nice if you want to put it on to your invoices. And I'm going to choose a category here. Maybe let's call it cameras, and click save. So you can see how easy this is actually to operate. So I'm going to click save and new. Now I'm going to create, let's say, a training for this, right? So I'm going to go to inventory and I'm going to change this type to service. Okay, so I'm going to say to our in-house training package on Canon camera. You don't have to put an SKU for this because we're not really tracking the stock. Then I'm going to create a category called training. And I definitely sell this product, and I sell it at 1,500 an hour. Again, the tax rate is standard. I don't purchase this because I am giving this myself. So I simply unticked this purchasing information, and I'm going to click save and close. And now it doesn't seem to want to save and close, but okay. Okay, let's close it and do it again. So I went to new services, to our in-house training on Canon camera, training 1.5. Let's actually change that to a different type of income, revenue general. Let's see if there's anything else. No. Okay, revenue general. Standard, I don't purchase this item. Save and close. There we go. So now you can see I've got my Canon camera, I've got 5 quantity on hand, and I've got a reorder point when it reaches 2. I've got my sales price and my cost price, and I can see it as an inventory item, as well as seeing the SKU and the description of the camera. Then I've got my training. You can see it's a service type and my sales type. Okay. So you can see I don't have any low stock or anything out of stock. And I can also go and edit it. I can make it inactive. I can run a report on the specific item. I can adjust the quantity, which I would not do because it just does not look correct in accounting terms. And then you can do a reorder. So what that will do, it will prompt up a purchase order. And then you can order it straight off the bat. So it's very, very user-friendly and very intuitive. And here on your services, you've just got a little bit less options. So you can make it inactive, you can run a report, or you can duplicate it. Okay, so that is your products and services. Okay, so what we're going to move on to next is your customer invoicing. So we're going to touch on the sales center. Okay, so I'm going to click on sales. Oh, I'm actually already in the sales center, so that was actually not very clever of me. So I'm going to move over to your all sales. Okay, so it already is prompting me to create a new invoice. So what I'm going to do is, before I get started here, I'm going to go to my gear and custom form styles. Now you can see there's a standard form type, which is a master form, and the data was last edited. So I'm just going to click on edit because it's just easier to work from a style that's already pre-built and you just change a few things that you want. Okay, so this is such an important topic or important section because this is how your invoices are going to look. You want to make these invoices look professional, make them turn heads and open wallets as this thing reads. Okay, so we're going to start off with the design. So it says here, dive in with a template. Okay, so you've got your different templates, right? We've got an airy new, got an airy classic, we've got a modern, a fresh, a bold, and a friendly. Okay, now with airy new, you are able to put in your banking information. So this is a very nice one to use. It's very nice looking. So I would say really suggest using this one or the modern one, whichever one you really like. But airy new is the go-to one, especially when putting your banking details on the system. Okay, so we've chosen airy new. Now we're going to go to logo edits. Okay, so my logo is already there from previously. And I'm just going to click on show logo. Okay, now it pops up on your left hand side. You can either make it smaller or largest. I really prefer it at its largest, and whichever your placement is. If you prefer it on the left or the center or the right, it is completely up to you. Okay. Then you choose your color. Now what is nice is because you've got like some red in here, you can go ahead and make it maybe orange or black or whatever you really want to represent your company as a color. Okay, you can choose your font if you do want a different font option, but I think this one looks the best. You can also make the size bigger, but with making the size bigger, your printing in your invoices might not always look the neatest. So I'm going to keep it on 10. Okay, now we're going to move on to the content. Okay, so it says here, when you're ready to edit, begin on the right. Just click on the pencils. Okay, so as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3 sections. I'm going to start at the top. And now it gives us some information here. So it says, what is your business name? So obviously my name is The Camera Guys. You can put your phone number in, your email, your CIPC number, your business address, and your website. Okay, so that's all the information that can be populated at the top. Now, also another thing is you can change your name. So you can call it an invoice or a tax invoice, a quote, sales receipt. You can use form numbers. You've got your shipping, your terms, your due date or expiration date, that's for quotes, your customer VAT number, very important. And then you've got those custom fields. Okay, now you can see my custom field has populated there. Now to the second section. Okay, account summary, I personally don't like. It just makes the invoice look a bit messy, but by all means, if you do want to add it in, there is the ability to do so. Then we've got a date. So the date I explained earlier was, let's say you offer training or landscaping, you'd put the date that the service was actually offered, okay? Then you've got your product and service. You can either include the description underneath the item or next to it. And you can put in the category if you wish, but it's also not that necessary, okay? Then you've got your description, but it's very important to include your quantity and rate if you want to show them that it's like 2 at 225, but I like to do it this way. It's just more clearer. So you can see 2 quantities at 225 and the total amount is that. Then you can put your VAT in here if you are VAT registered. And obviously you need the amount at the end. So this does give you a bit of leeway. I mean, I can go move around maybe the VAT here, for instance, if you wish. So this does give you the ability to move things around. Okay, and then if you want to go to edit labels and widths, what it basically does is you can see that the item drops, right? We can just move these around. See what it does? All the way to the back. Okay. It just makes everything look a lot more neater. Then we've got our last section. So going from the top, you've got your discount, all right? You've got your deposit, as I mentioned, a VAT summary, which I really don't think is necessary, so I'm going to take that out, and a quote summary, if really necessary, but I also don't think that's totally important. Then you've got your payment details, as I mentioned. So you can put your banking number in here, standard bank 012, check. Please use invoice number as reference. Okay, so now you can see that your banking details pre-populates here. Okay, so it's a great way for your customer to see your banking details up close and personal. Okay, now we're going to move over to your emails. So I've shown this before, but I haven't really shown you what the email will look like. So we've got sales form. So we've got your invoice, your quote, or your sales receipt. So your invoice would look very something like this. Okay, very neat, very professional. You've got your invoice number, which is pre-populated, and your message. You can, again, type wherever you need to. You've got your reminder set automatically. You can change this to a quote. You can see that it changes a little bit. Yeah, so that's how the whole invoice layout works. And we can now, if we are happy, click done. Okay, so now that we've set up our custom form styles and we're happy of how our invoice is going to look, we're going to jump back to the sales center. Okay, so your first step is going to be, after obviously our products and services, is creating your customers. Okay, so I simply just clicked on the customer button and it already wants me to add in a customer, as simple as that. So I'm going to call my customer, let's say Mary Doolittle, and her phone number and an email address, Mary Doolittle gmail.com. Okay, and I'm going to add a customer. And as simple as that, I've added my first customer. So now if you want to add a bit more detail into this person, you can simply click on their name there, or you can go to the little drop down and you can change a few things, or you can create a few charges. So I'm just going to click into the person's name. and I'm going to go to customer details and the edit button. So I'm going to say that this lady's name is Mary Doolittle. Okay, her mobile is okay, and if they have a website, and then their billing address, Doolittle Street, Pretoria. Okay, then you can put in any notes, their VAT number, their payment terms if you want to preset that. So if you give them a standard 15 days, you can do that. Their language, again, not that many options to choose from, but you do have a few. And you can add any attachments. So this is nice if you want to attach any contracts or invoices or IDs to make their customer file complete. Okay, so I'm going to click on save. And then I'm going to go to transaction lists, right? So now this is going to show me all the different transactions that Mary Doolittle has done, we have done for her. And then here you can add any notes to say she prefers Samsung, for example. So this can be a really good sales technique as well. So now let's say if your sales guy comes in and he wants to do some cold calling, he can already see that she likes Samsung cameras. So you can give her a call and be like, you know what, we've got a special on Samsung cameras. We see that you're a valued customer. Can I give you some options, for example? So it's really, really nice tool. You can also email straight from the system or call, okay? And then you've got your projects. So obviously this is if you do any projects for this customer, it will all flow into this area. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create an invoice for Mary Doolittle. So on her name, I'm going to click on new transaction and invoice. But another way you can also do it is you could go to new and invoice or sales and invoices. Okay, now it wants us to give a little learning on how to do this, but I'm going to skip this for now. Okay, now as you can see, this is a really pre-populated all of her information, and this will be the same. Like, let's say you want to choose another customer, all of their details will pre-populate. Okay, so Mary's terms is due on receipt. Okay, so first ever invoice, so you can see the invoice number there. You can also change this if you want. If you want to make it 0001, you can do that, right? We are shipping, let's say, via Fastway Couriers. We are going to ship this product on the 15th of March. And okay, let's change this date. Let's do it from maybe the 8th of Jan, right? We're going to ship it by the 15th of Jan. There's a tracking number. Okay. Now there's no need for a service date because we are not giving a service. I'm going to choose a Canon camera, or should I go and create a new one? Let's maybe go create a new one to show you how easy it is to do it from the system. So I'm going to choose inventory, Samsung C100 camera, SC1001, category cameras. I have 20 on hand as of that date. Reorder 0.5, and I sell this for 8,500, and choose my VAT, and I buy it for 3,850, and my preferred supplier is Samsung SA. Okay, and I'm going to save and close. Okay, so she is buying the Samsung camera. She wants one of it, and this is obviously how it will pre-populate because we have already chosen a rate. This can be changed if you wish, but obviously in retail, your prices are basically set, okay? Then my VAT's already chosen, but you can change it if you want to. And because she's such a loyal customer, I'm going to give her a 20% discount, okay? So as you can see, this has already been done. Okay, and then that's how it is. Let's say we're going to charge her 250 Rand shipping. And that is what her total is going to be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to save and send this invoice. Okay, it wants me to choose a tax code for the shipping. I'm just going to choose out of scope. Okay. Oh, actually it must be standard rated. So basically what this is it wants me to see what am I going to charge the shipping off. So if you're charging her the exact same shipping amount as what the camera people are charging you, you put it as standard, but generally you'd always put it on standard rated, right? This is how you're going to do it, and I'm going to save and send. Okay, this tax return might already affect the tax return you've already filed. So because this is for training purposes, we're going to ignore this error, but in future, preferably don't ignore these type of errors or warnings as they are trying to help you. Okay, so I'm going to send this invoice. We appreciate your prompt payment. I'm going to say thank you for being a valued customer. Okay, and you can see the email's already pre-populated, and I'm going to say send and close. Okay, now if we go to transaction list, we can already see that this invoice is created and is unfortunately overdue, and that is because I've created this invoice a little bit behind because we're trying to catch up, right? We're trying to get through all the things we need to do. So now if your status is opened, for example, it'll mean that the invoice is not yet paid. It can also show partially paid and paid. So those are the different types of status options you have. Now on the action tab, what you can do for this invoice, okay? You can send it again. You can force send a reminder. You could print it. You could share the invoice link. Now, how is this so cool? By sharing this invoice link, you get to share it on WhatsApp, right? So now people are always on their phones, okay? So if you send this via WhatsApp, they're going to see it in their face on time, and they're more likely to pay you quicker. Okay, you can print a delivery note if you need to. You can view and edit it. You can copy it, delete it, or void it. I would definitely not delete things from the system because it's going to make life very difficult for you when it comes time to do your financials and to audit your books. Okay, so always void if you need to void. Now, let's for instance say that she actually took 2 cameras. Okay. And you want to actually say no. She gave us 1 back, so she's only taking 1. So all I'm going to do is I am going to go to this section. So if you, let's say, already processed this invoice and she's already paid you, and this invoice is cleaned out, you would then just process a refund on the account. And then you'd be able to get it paid. Now, voiding is to void the whole invoice in total. Okay. So we're going to receive the payment on this invoice now, right? But I wouldn't necessarily do it here, but a lot of clients do use the section. because they find it easier than actually doing the banking. But I do hope that once I show you the banking, that you're going to feel more confident to actually use the banking section. Okay, so if you look at the invoice tab, right, we've got our overdue invoice and it's unpaid for the last 365 days. We don't have any invoices that are not deposited. And here is your invoice, and you can see that the status says sent. Now, what is so cool about the system is it can actually track whether someone has viewed your invoice. So there's no lies anymore, or people saying, no, I haven't received your invoice, that is why I haven't made payment. There's actual proof now that someone has viewed your invoice, and if they've paid it, then you will see it under paid. Okay, now if I go back to the customer, right, I want to send this customer a statement. Okay, so all I'm going to do is go to actions and create statement. We've got an option of choosing balance forward, open item, or transaction statement. So balance forward is probably my favorite to use, but you can choose as you wish. So I'm going to choose my start date from, let's say, the 1st of Jan up until today. I'm going to apply it, and I'm not going to send it just yet. I want to print or preview it. So we can see here that on the 8th of Jan, she had an invoice with that amount, and that is not paid. And you can now see that it falls in 61 to 90 days past due. Okay, now if you're happy, you can go ahead and send it. Okay, it will pop up a little email with your attachment, and you can add a little note in there if you wish. Okay, so those are the different options on invoicing. So what I'm just going to touch on quickly is maybe creating a quote. Okay, so I'm going to go choose a new customer. Let's call her Doreen. I'm not going to put in all the details. And the expiration date, let's just change this again to the 22nd. Expiration date is the 12th. And she wants, let's say, on the 18th, no, let's do 26th of Feb. She wants a 2-hour training session. So I'm going to just change that to 2, because this rate is per hour. Okay, so I'm just going to add, make that a 2 so it shows the correct amount. And then I'm going to also not add in a service date, but add in the camera. Okay, so not the Samsung camera, the Canon camera. And she wants 5 of those. Okay. Now she's going to actually come and collect this, so we don't have to put any shipping onto this. Okay, that's why I've left all of that blank. Again, you can see quote number 1, the total amount due, quote dates, expiration dates, all of it is here. The more information you put in the customer, the more information that will populate. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to save and send it. Oh, we don't have an email. Okay, save and send. And send and close. Now let's say, for example, okay, the status has expired because it has passed its expiration date. But let's, for example, say this person has accepted the quote, right? All I'm going to do is go to action and go to create invoice. But before I do that, I just want to show you something. So we can see that there is no quotes here. And the reason for that is because the quote has expired. But you will be able to see it in your all details, all sales tab, right? So I'm going to go and create an invoice from this. We can see there's one linked transaction, which is the quote. Payment date is on receipt, and everything stays the same. Now you can change that. I can go and change that to 4 if I want, but it is 5. Okay, and the invoice is done, and then you can save and send it again. Okay, so that is really what your invoicing is all about. So one other really interesting feature that the system has is if you have retain a client or service related clients that you do monthly work for, you can create one invoice for this client and make it recurring monthly. And then let it prompt you for, at a certain date, make you increase the fee if you need to, and it will run again. So this is going to save you so much time going forward, especially if you have those recurring invoice transactions. Okay. Now from here, you can also copy an invoice. Let's say another person bought the exact same thing. You can go in and just say copy. Okay. You can also do that exactly from the invoice or all sales tab. So if I go to my invoices now, we can see we have a lot of money overdue. And we've got our all sales, so it's got our overdue and our open invoices, which mean they are not paid. Now, something I wanted to show you earlier, which I missed, is let's, for instance, say that Doreen now takes 2, okay? I go and create a new transaction and I create a credit note. Okay, so that would be for Doreen. And on the camera, I'm minusing 1, okay? So this now shows, if I go to Doreen and I look at her transaction list, I can see that we've got an invoice of that, but she actually had a credit note of that. So this is what her balance is. Okay, pretty straightforward. You've got everything at your fingertips here. So let's, for instance, say you want to see all your quotes that are opened and still active. You would go here and you'd be able to see all your quotes. So it's good filtering as well. And you've got all your different transactions that you're able to do here. But I'm really going to show you how to do your sales receipt and your payments through the banking section. So the next section we are going to move on to is your suppliers and your bills. Okay, so now we're going to get started with suppliers and expenses. So the difference between the two is your expenses would basically be your everyday expenses, such as your debit orders, like and your bank charges. So let's say if you've got a automated telecom bill running every month, that's what you would use for your expenses. And then your supplier bills would be more if you're purchasing stock, or if you purchase something that has a due date later than the time that the bill is actually created. So those are the two different type of options, and I'm going to show you quickly how to create a supplier. All I did is clicked onto the supplier tab, and all you do is you click new supplier, put their name, and this place is, let's say, the rental agency. I'm going to fill in all this detail at the moment, just so we've got some time to spare. But as you can see, you can put your address in. This is actually a very cool feature, which I didn't mention before. It's a map feature. So let's say you're not exactly sure the full address details. You can go and type in just a short description in this map view, and it will populate all the details for you. You can also put in a little bit of notes, email, phone, the terms of when the payment is due, so at the end of the month or however it is. You set your opening balance if you have one with them, and the account number. So this is your account number with them. And obviously they have their own business ID number as well. Okay, and then I'm going to click on save. So I'm just gonna put in nothing there. The terms, I'm going to say 30, We had no account, and yeah, that is it. Oh, and another cool feature which just came out is your default expense account. So you can make sure that your different types of suppliers have their own allocated expense account. So obviously the rental agency, they're going to be providing us with a rental property. So their default expense account would obviously go to rental of buildings. I just hope that this is here. Yes. So we've got a rent or lease payment. So I'm going to put this to this account and I'm going to click on save. Okay, now we can see that we've got our supplier created and we've got a balance of 0. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a bill on this. Simple, by clicking the action and bill. Another way of doing this, I'm going to show you, is by going to new and clicking on under suppliers, you go to bill. So those are the two different ways of doing it. If you do it this way, you're going to have to select which supplier you want to do the bill for. So I'm going to go to the rental agency. You see my terms have already pre-populated. The person's name is already pre-populated and the account. So setup again is this is showing you how important setup is. So this is probably rental for January, or let's say February 2020. I'm just going to change this date to, let's say, there, and payment is due. So it's actually not 30, it's 15. So I should actually go back and change those terms. But what's nice is this is fully editable as you wish. So this should really be pre-populated from the actual bill you receive from your supplier. So the amount is, let's say, 7,000 Rand. Oops. And there is VAT on it because it is a commercial building. I'm just going to say it's inclusive of VAT. So we get a easier understanding of the figures, okay? And then I'm going to save and close this. Now, for instance, that was a simple everyday type of expense bill that I created. Now, let's say I go create a bill for specific items. So let's say I go and create a bill for a camera's purchased, right? So let's go to Samsung SA and I'm going to create a bill. Okay, I'm going to create it. Let's do the 31st of Jan. Let's do a 30-day. And let's call it. So I'm actually incorrect in doing this. We are not looking at a category. We are looking at an item. Categories, as you can see, are all your different expenses, your assets, your non-currents, your current liabilities, and your expenses. What we are looking for is the actual products and services that we're going to be invoicing or purchasing. So this is your Samsung. We're purchasing this and we're going to purchase, let's say, 2 of these, okay? And it's already got its rate of how much we buy it for, the amount, and as we can see, the VAT's already worked itself out, and I'm going to click save and close. Okay, so this is really how your process works with creating your bills. I would really suggest doing this as soon as you receive the bill, so you don't miss out on any information that needs to be captured and can get lost in the process. So if I look at this top ribbon over here, we can see that we've got 2 suppliers that are overdue. Okay, now you can also do purchase orders. So that's obviously if you send through a request to purchase these items, and then obviously your supplier sends back the actual bill and you capture that, or you actually just accept the purchase order. So that is as simple as it is. And on every section, whether it comes to products and services, customers or suppliers, you get the ability to import via CSV. So if you've got a large amount of customers and suppliers and products and services, it is advised to do an import through a CSV. Now, if I jump over here to your expenses, we will see that we created a bill for rent, and we've created a bill for a stock asset, which is obviously the item of inventory that we purchased. And now you can also see that these two amounts are not paid, and it wants us to make payment, right? So we can either make payment, we can view it, or copy it, or delete it. Deleting is really not an option unless you really made a mistake. If I go here on new transactions under expenses, we can see that we can create a bill. We can import bills, which is a really nice feature. We can create a general expense, a check, which we don't really use in South Africa, a purchase order, as I mentioned, a supplier credit, or pay down on a credit card. So those are your different types of transactions that you can do in your expense center. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to the final step, which is our banking. So just bear in mind that I might jump back to sales and expenses in the process, because I've almost created a bank account on a CSV format, which we're going to import, and those figures might not exactly correspond to what we've put in, so I might have to go back and just create a few, but it's good because it gives us a bit more practice and a bit more explanation when it comes to creating things. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to banking and banking again. Okay, now it wants us to either connect our account or upload our transactions. So unfortunately, we are not going to go through the connecting account via bank feeds, but all it is you click on it. I can actually maybe walk you through a bit until a certain stage. So you're going to click on connect account. Okay, it's going to ask you what is your bank name, for example. And you are then obviously going to choose your bank account. So this is now obviously the way in which you would log into your internet banking. So with the Nedbank, it is this option. Okay, and then it asks you for your login details. So this is really the way that you would try and log in to your internet banking. And from this stage, once you sign in and everything is correct, it's going to give you the option of from when do you want to take your banking transactions from, and it will pull it that far back. It generally goes back about 3 months. So if you do need to take on more data, uploading transactions is going to be your answer, and that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so all you're going to do is click on upload transactions. Okay, so again, it wants you to either get a file from the computer, either CSV, QFX, QBO, or OFX, or securely connect your bank. So I'm just going to click on the Browse button. I'm going to jump to my file called Camera Guys, and I've got this little bank statement that has been created, but this is the format that you would get it from the bank. All you have to do is log in and draw a CSV format bank statement. Okay, so I opened it and then I click on next. Okay, now I'm going to choose which bank account I need to add it to. Now, because we've never set up a bank account here, I can simply add it here. I don't need to go back to the chart of accounts, add it there, come back. So it really gives you flexibility. So if you have maybe forgotten a step or you didn't think it was necessary at the time, when it is necessary, you can do it at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to click on add new. And it is cash equivalent, and it is a bank account. Okay, so I'm just going to call it business bank account. Okay, and I'm going to click save and close. Okay, then I'm going to click on next. So it's asking me if the first row in the CSV file is a header row, and that is correct. So what I normally do is I put a little header in to say date, description, and amount. Now, QuickBooks gives you two options, right? You can either have both your positive and negative figures in one column, or you can separate them. It really is your preference, and it also depends on how the bank account comes from the bank itself. So all we're going to do now is we're going to map. So our date field is going to be in this date format. Obviously, this is how it comes from your bank. Our description column is description, and our amount is in one column, positive and negative numbers. So I'm going to click on next. Okay, now we can see that all mine are green and there is no errors. Now, if you do have an error in your line, there will be a red ring that forms, or red box that forms around it, and it will tell you what is incorrect in your file. So everything's happy here, so I'm going to click on next. And then it asks me if I want to import the transactions, and then I'm going to click on yes. Okay. Okay, we're going to close this because we do not want to take a tour. Okay, so what we see here is a whole lot of transactions, okay? Just going to zoom my screen out once so we can see the whole screen. Cool. Okay, and if, another cool trick, right? If you do want a bit more space in your screen without losing that sight, I'm going to put it back to 100. And I'm just going to close that. Now this opens up your screen much more, so you have more space to work with. One tip and trick when working with your banking, go here to your settings button and click on show bank detail. That is not something that is automatically populated, so you don't always exactly see what's on the bank statement. QuickBooks tries and deciphers what's on there and gives you their suggestion. And also say copy bank detail to memo. So what this does is this puts the information into a memo form. So when you drill down in general ledgers, you're able to see the full detail of the account. Okay, so we're going to start here, right? Some of them I'm going to just categorize, and some of them I'm actually going to match and take some actual accounts to it. So I'm just going to change this date range so it shows from the oldest to the newest. So all you're going to do is click on the date, and as you can see, we've got our first. Okay, now we can already see we've got this one record found. Okay, so I'm going to deal with that just now, but firstly, I'm going to show you how to simply add transactions. Now, what's really, really important or really interesting about QuickBooks is it has amazing AI. So what it does, it builds up all this information and all this learning throughout all the QuickBooks subscribers. And it gives you suggested answers or suggested matches or categories to your bank detail. Now you can already see that it's trying to put service fees to bank charges, and that's completely correct. Okay, so all I have to do is go and change the tax code to standard rate. And all I did was I set it as a default because, as we know, bank charges has VAT on it and you can claim it. And I'm going to click on add. Okay, now let's see if I have a bit more. So I've got more bank charges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for all the bank charges. Do you see it has a recognized field? Okay, I want to see what this recognized field is and if we can allocate any transactions quicker. Okay, so all it has is the service fee. So I'm going to go back, and obviously these two matches, but I will get to that in a second. So let's have a look for our bank charges. Okay, we've got one there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click it on the left-hand side, and I'm going to find the other one, which is there. And here is another one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to batch actions, modify selected, change the bank account to bank charges, the VAT already pre-populates, and apply and add. And there you go, 3 transactions have just been accepted, and that was that quick. So let's say you are happy with whatever you've ticked and you don't want to amend it. All you do is you go to batch actions and you say accept. Now let's, for instance, say that a duplicate forms here, and you know this transaction is not on the bank. All you have to do is you click on the transaction and you go to batch actions and you exclude it. So this gets excluded from your actual banking details. Okay, so I'm going to look at these matches now. Okay, so what it's trying to do, it wants to match this money coming in to an invoice that I have created. Now the system, what it does, whenever it sees money coming in with the descriptions and an invoice number, it will try and find to where it needs to go. And as you can see, this is actually correct. It picked up that it's invoice 1001 and it's Mary Doolittle for the exact same amount. So all you have to do is click on match. Okay, I'll show you what it does on the other end, on the sales side, once we are done with the banking. Then we've got another invoice. Now this person didn't put their name in. They just put the invoice number, but the system has already picked it up. Okay, it's exactly the same. The amounts are the same, and I'm going to click match. Okay, now I'm just going to go and allocate a few here. So we know that MTN is probably telephone and internet. Now we can see I don't have this account. So all I'm going to do is scroll to the top, add new. I'm just going to refresh my page. Okay. Go to add new. It is an expense. We can put it to dues and subscriptions, or we can put it to office general admin. So I'm going to put it there, and I'm just going to rename it to telephone and internet. Okay, and I'm going to click on save and close. Okay, I'm going to choose my tax code. And yes, I want to set it as a default. And I'm going to add it. Okay. Now, another very interesting thing of how we can work this software, right? So let's say, for instance, let's go to, wonder which would be a nice one. Let's go to BP, okay? We've got an amount of 482.56. And we know that this was actually a split between petrol and a refreshment that was purchased at the BP. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to split. Okay, I'm going to go to my category, which is correct on motor vehicle, petrols, 0 rated, and the amount is going to be 400 Rand. And you can see we have a difference of 82 Rand and 56 cents. I'm going to put this to meals and entertainment. There is no VAT on this. It's actually exempt. And I'm going to type in 82 Rand and 56 cents. Now we can see the difference is 0, and it is allowing me to save and add. And just as that, I've split one transaction into 2. Okay, now we've got prepaid electricity. I'm going to put this utilities as completely correct, just adding the tax code. I've got a spa, meals and entertainment, correct again. As you can see, it's just the tax codes that I'm changing. Okay, we've got an HP store. So now this is already so clever. It's already picked it up that it's office expenses, and that's completely correct. Okay, So I'm just going to find my standard rate, and that's correct. Okay, telecom. So telecom, I wouldn't necessarily put to office expenses, but it is not correct. It's not correct. So I'm going to put it to telephone and internet, and as you see, it's already populated that tax code for me. And then I'm going to do one last transaction, which is actually the rental property that the bill that we created. But I'm going to do this one. Now you can see we paid a little bit less than what we actually was billed. So I'm going to show you how to do this in a part payment. So if you do not see a match as you would, you go to the little find match button, and it will give you all the options that you would have. Okay, you can change your date range back. So this thing goes back a couple of months. Now let's say your supplier custom is really far overdue. You just change that back and all of them will populate. So I know this is for my rental agency. I'm going to click on it, and we can see that only 66 was paid, but that's 100% fine. Well, not fine. Maybe the rental agency might give us a lawyer's letter, but for now, this is what we have paid. So I'm going to click on save, and that is done. So I'm quickly going to allocate the rest. Okay, now this one's also not here, so I just want to add it. Okay, it's giving me a bit of trouble with adding, so I'm just going to refresh the page. Okay. Choosing our accounting fees under legal and professional fees. There is no VAT on this, and save and close. Okay, so as you can see, adding transactions are very easy. So yeah, this is how you would basically go and allocate all your transactions. You can see again, after I've allocated the e-com accounting fee to accounting fees on the previous one, it's already prompted me that the next one should also be accounting fees, and that's completely correct. Okay, now what I want to do is suggest a rule. So I can set up a rule. I'm going to do this really quickly. So I'm just going to go to create rule, and the rule has been created for you. So if you do want to edit it, you can go back in the rules itself up there and edit it as what you want, but it generally does give the correct information. And it does prompt you before it adds, so it doesn't automatically add. I always feel to use that, don't automatically add until you are completely comfortable. Okay, so that is the different options with banking and the different ways to import your information to get your bank statements in. So now we're going to quickly look at your report tab. Okay, so I'm going to go back to standard. Okay, and I'm going to pull a profit and loss. So this is just going to be the one that you most probably are always going to use. But again, we've got the main ones that I think every business would use as your accounts receivable, your profit and loss, your business snapshot, your balance sheet. I'm just going to go down here. This one is also very important. Profit and loss detail. Profit and loss by month is also quite nice. Statement of cash flows. We've got okay, we've got these customer balance summary. Okay, we've got sales by product and services, a stock take worksheet. We've got age payables, which is also a really nice one. Supplier balance. purchases by product. And then you've got your VAT detail report and your VAT 201 report, which is also important if you're VAT registered. And then you've got some time activity fields and obviously some of your reports for your accountant, like your general ledgers, your journals, your recent transactions, etc. So I'm just going to go up. And as you can see, what I was doing is I was actually favoriting a couple of these reports. So I'm just going to quickly go on profit and loss by month. So all I did is I clicked on it. I'm going to choose from January 2020 to date. And I'm going to say display columns by month, accrual, and run. Okay, now you can see it gives me Jan, it gives me Feb, and it gives me a bit of March. So you can see we've got our discounts because we did give someone a discount. We've got our revenue, we've got our sales, and we've got shipping income. Then we've got our cost of sales. So this was actually what was sold. Got our accounting fees, our bank charges. Now this also gives you a good indication of how your spending is every month. So if this month your telephone internet is huge compared to the previous month, you can always drill down and see exactly why it is so high. So remember, all of these figures are without VAT. So if they do not look 100% as what we allocated, is because it has removed the VAT from it, because that is how you report on your figures, is after VAT. And we can see that we have a total of 6,000 Rand earnings, but we have not actually completed our banking. So it's not 100% complete indication. So your date range is completely flexible as you wish. You can also display totals only by weeks, quarters, fiscal years. You can even go down to classes if we create some. You can show all columns or not only non-zero columns. You can compare them with the previous year. You can put a percentage in. So you've got a lot of different types of customizations in here. Now you can also add notes. You can email this report. You can print it. You can export it to Excel or PDF. And then you've also got a compact view or a non-compact view. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the report list. And I'm just going to pull an accounts receivable aging summary. So we can see it doesn't have any data, but that is because it's been paid. But if I pull it, let's say for the 31st of Jan, and if I run the report, okay, it's still nothing. Let's say if I do it for the 15th of Jan. Okay, so what would have happened is if we did have any information or any outstanding monies, it would show here. But if I go to my sales now, for instance, when I go to customers, we can see that we have nothing overdue because both of our invoices were paid. You can see their balances are now 0. So if I go to invoices, we can see that their statuses are both on deposited and there's nothing overdue. And the same with the suppliers. We can see that our Samsung is not paid yet. And we still owe 400 Rand on our rental agency. And under our expenses, we can see there are some expenses and some bills with bill payments. So that is how your expenses are broken down. Now, let's, for instance, say that you want to send a statement now to a customer. I know I am jumping, but it is sort of on the reporting side. So you'd go to sales and customers, or you'd go to the new tab and other and statement. You'd go to Mary Doolittle and you'd say actions. On the little drop down, create statement. Okay. Then I'm going to choose the starting date as the 1st of January. I'm going to apply it. I've got my balance brought forward and I'm going to preview it. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a balance brought forward, I've got a payment, and I've got an invoice. Okay, so now you can see that the balances are all zero. So this is how your statement will look. Very professional, very neat, and it gives all the information that you would need. Okay, so that is the different types of reports that we'd get, the different sales reports, age creditors, age debtors, profit and loss, and balance sheet, among others. So I'm going to go to the dashboard just to sum up everything that we've spoken of. So we can see we've got 0 unpaid invoices. In the last 30 days, nothing has been paid because it looked like everything was paid in January. We've got nothing overdue. And if I drill that down to, let's say, last financial year, we can see the breakdown of our different expenses. So we can see our cost of sales, everything else. I can actually drill down into that. And it will give us the different types of expenses. Okay, I'm just going to jump back to the dashboard. We've got our accounting fees, our rent or lease payments. Okay, then we've got our bank account. So it will show me what the bank account is supposed to be. Because I don't have my bank feeds, you won't see that bank balance until I do a recon, but I can only do a recon once all my 6 transactions have been reviewed. I've also got my cash and cash equivalents here. So the way I use cash and cash equivalents for our clients is I use it as a petty cash account. So if we draw out cash, I transfer it to this cash and cash equivalents account, and then all my cash expenses I post to this cash and cash equivalent account. So it really balances out and you get to see what is the cash left over. Okay, then I'm going to pull a profit and loss for the last financial year. You can see that we still have 5 expenses to review and 1 income, but you've got a little miniature profit and loss, which is also a good snapshot of where your business is. And then we've got our sales. I'm just going to go last financial quarter, and then we can see our sales for Jan was that amount and the other month was 0. But obviously as you build in your information, your graph will look a bit different. So guys, I'm going to talk about quickly the specific features for specific industries and how it works. So I think QuickBooks is great for all small businesses, but if you are in specific industries, it just has a little bit of extra features to benefit you even more. So if you are in projects, I really think their project functionality and the project profitability is great. So if you do work in stages and you want to track whether you're making profits or not on different projects, so maybe if you have a catering business or you do decor for certain things or whatever it may be, projects is really amazing tool, and I have not seen another system that has that type of ability that this does. Another great thing, or another great industry I think QuickBooks works well for is the legal industry. Not so much lawyers, because they do have quite, especially large lawyers with like 5 to 10 partners, but the smaller lawyers, your advocates, because they do have a client trust account built in. You can customize your invoices with those extra custom fields, and I think it just really works well. It's tried and tested by us, so I know that the legal profession works really well with QuickBooks. And then obviously your retail is also great because of the reorder points. So obviously if you've got a little cafe, or you do e-commerce, or just like a clothing store, or whatever it may be, as well as service industry. The service industry is always great. And obviously another great thing is if you have recurring income, your recurring invoice feature is great because it will cut down the time you do your invoicing like maybe by 90%, because you're only going to be doing it once, maybe every year for a specific client. Okay, so thank you for watching the webinar series on how to get started on QuickBooks Online. I hope I've given you enough tools and understanding on how to get started and run your business successfully on QuickBooks. If you feel like you may need more specialized information or just some extra help, you can always visit the online learning and support page as written below, where you can find videos, how-to articles, user guides and business support. You can also send your questions via email and we'll receive a response within 1 business day. And if you ever do feel that you do need some sort of an accountant at some stage, you're more than welcome to contact me as well. So all your information is on the portal. Your QuickBooks Learning and Support page is really a one-stop guide or one-stop shop for all things QuickBooks. So if you're ever stuck, go watch a little video, go read an article. They really have good information on marketing your business, funding, access to funding, the best ways to use QuickBooks. So it's really, really, really informative and intuitive. Again, thank you for listening and have a great day.